If you picked the Pact of Courage just starting out and now you're stuck with the Longsword for a bit, you may be feeling some rough difficulty when just starting out. That's because not only is the Longsword the only melee starting weapon, but the range is short, the damage is low, and you have a serious lack of self-healing until you can gain some levels. But don't worry, all is not lost. This guide will go over some of the basics to the Longsword, and then I'll go into how to make the Longsword into a killing machine. Unfortunately though, this means a rough start in grinding out some materials, but before long, you may actually start really enjoying what this weapon has to offer. With this guide, I'll also briefly be going over Flyblade sidearms, and that is because the Longsword combat and survivability really needs the supplemental damage and utility that the Flyblades offer. If you haven't started with the Longsword, let me quickly explain how to craft the Wolder. Assuming you have completed the blacksmith quest already, in order to craft the Wolder Longsword, you will need to find Wolder fragments, 15 scrap iron, 20 sproutfolk frond, and 25 quenching acid, and then finally 1,500 drax to craft. For the Flyblade, since your starting longsword is courage based, I suggest finding and crafting the Precles sidearm. This will cost you 15 brass, 15 steel, 25 sproutfolk frond, and 1,500 drax. If you're having trouble farming the materials, check out the shorts guide on my channel on the best place to farm for materials and drax as of Prelude 10. The moveset is fairly simple. Your light attack combo consists of 4 hits, 2 slashes, a poke, and a final slash. The heavy attack is a 2-hit combo with 2 slashes. The running attack is very good. It is a wide sweeping slash, which you can combo into either the light attack or heavy attack we just saw. You are able to charge both heavy attacks by holding down the button. A visual cue will be the golden shine at the end of your weapon after each fully charged heavy attack. These fully charged heavy attacks do massive stagger damage and will knock down smaller opponents. Knockdowns and stuns allow for a follow-up execution by moving over to your enemy and pressing light attack. Take advantage of these follow-up attacks since you currently get invincibility frames during this action, which is majorly beneficial in bigger fights. Holding down the block button will allow you to block most attacks. There are some unblockable attacks which can bypass your block, so watch out for those. These attacks are usually denoted by the enemy or the enemy's weapon glowing just before an attack. Make sure to dodge these. Pressing the block button at the moment the enemy strikes you will cause you to parry. This makes the enemy stagger, allows an opening for a heavy attack or riposte. A riposte is where you press the light attack directly after the parry animation to do a large amount of damage quickly. Again, you must have this talented, and we will go over the longsword talents in a bit. Holding down the block button will also allow you to manually aim, which can help you soft target onto a different enemy. And B, it's gonna allow you to aim your sword to be yeeted into the closest enemy. Press the heavy attack button to throw your sword and press it again to recall the weapon to your hands, just like in God of War. Be warned, if you throw your weapon away and you don't recall it, you're gonna be fighting with just your fists, and you don't wanna do that. There's also a small range of jumping attacks for the longsword. Jumping and pressing the light attack will give you a floaty swipe animation in the air. If you jump and press heavy attack, you will do a downward chop, which doesn't do as much damage as you wish it would. Lastly, there's a longsword sneak attack. If you crouch down and sneak up on your enemy, you will get a prompt to press R1 for a sneak attack, stabbing right into the enemy's back for massive damage. The Flyblade is relatively simple. The light attack just throws your daggers at your opponents. We won't be using this in our longsword build because then it wouldn't be a longsword build. What we will use, however, is the heavy attack, which makes your Flyblades orbit around your body, hitting all enemies around you. This can be charged, and you could switch back to the longsword while these blades are orbiting. The Wolder Longsword is a common long arm attuned to courage, which means the damage is increased based on your courage stat. The Preckley's common Flyblade also is attuned to courage, which is why we choose this as our sidearm. Looking at the Longblade skill tree first, the top tree focuses on riposte, the middle tree focuses on throwing your Longblade, and the bottom tree focuses on heavy attacks. For this build, we're going to focus on the top tree for your first 5 points. You'll gain 5 points for every Longsword you level up to 30 that you can spend in this tree. You start off having to pick Smite, which makes your enemy's chest glow. At that point, you can go into Soul mode and steal this Smite from your enemies to do massive damage. The entire build is really based around this skill. Next, riposte, you will be wanting to parry in order to riposte and actually make your longsword do decent damage. But most importantly, it's to unlock Vault, increasing your chance of smite. For now, use your last 2 points to unlock Swift Parry to make parrying easier, and Unyielding so that you can parry heavy attacks as well. Looking at the Flyblade skill tree, the top tree is our focus as the bottom 2 trees are primarily focused on using the Flyblades as your main weapon. We want to increase the duration of our orbiting Flyblades and max out Twist of Luck, which increases the chance for our orbiting Flyblades to inflict smite. Now I'm guessing you kind of have an idea on where the build is going. It's all based around smite. To round out the build, you must have a final passive selected, which is in all packs, and that is Sympathy. You can pick this up with just 4 passive points in your tree. This causes all the smites your other weapons are building to make you regain life, and trust me, the life regain is significant. Starting out on the Longsword and not using the Oselda pact, you're going to have an extremely difficult time keeping healed, which you probably already know, especially with multiple enemies around. Your goal when hopping into any fight is to activate your Flyblades and get them orbiting. Next, you're going to focus on being near the enemies, working on defense and parrying, riposting. Let those riposte and Flyblades proc smite on your enemies. As I said before, this will be represented by a glowy shard in their chest. Then if you're on keyboard, tap your Soul Mode button, or if you're on controller, hold down your Soul Mode button. Default is left trigger, and press jump. For PS5 users, it's X, and for Xbox users, it's the A button. These default key bindings can easily be changed in the settings as you want. The Longsword is definitely the most difficult weapon I've played to date in Soulframe. The damage is low, and you really have to use all the game's offer mechanics such as smites, riposte, sidearms in order to survive. But stick it out and the other weapons you pick up will be a breeze. If this guide helped you, please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my channel. Every click helps a small channel like mine grow. Stay tuned for my next guides. I'm working on the short blade, bow, and Orangol pack guides next.